Okay, so let's unpack this. Usually when we sit down to do these deep dives, we are looking at something, well, something a bit heavy.
Right, like a massive stack of research papers.
Yeah, exactly. A tech breakthrough or some shift in the global economy, maybe a really complex historical event. But today we are doing something that, well, on the surface, it feels a little more like window shopping.
Very, very expensive window shopping.
Extremely, because we have actually got our hands on the breakdown for the upcoming spring 2026 issue of VOUZ magazine.
Which is quite the source document to dig into.
It really is. And I'll be honest, when I first looked at the material, I thought, okay, why are we analyzing a shopping list for billionaires?
It does read like that at first glance, I admit.
Right. But then I started reading through your notes and I realized this isn't really about the stuff itself, is it?
No,
Yeah.
absolutely not.
Okay.
I mean, sure, this stuff is there, and we're definitely going to talk about that $15 million beach house. But a magazine like VOUZ is actually functioning as a piece of anthropology.
Anthropology. Okay, I like that framing.
Yeah, because it bills itself as this quarterly luxury publication for a, quote, well-traveled audience, unquote. But what it's actually doing is creating a very specific snapshot of the future. It is essentially a mood board for where the aspirational class is heading in 2026.
So it feels less like a traditional magazine and more like an instruction manual. Like, hey, here is how to be a wealthy person in the spring of 2026.
That is the perfect way to look at it. And the key word here is curation.
Curation.
Right, because we live in an age of absolute information overload. You can buy anything, anywhere, at any time. So luxury is no longer defined by access.
Because anyone with a high-limit credit card can get access.
Exactly. Access is easy. Luxury is now defined by filtering. It's about who is cutting through the noise for you. So this issue of VOUZ is constructing a totally cohesive worldview.
It's packaging a lifestyle.
Yes, it's saying, look, if you are the kind of person who wears this specific watch, you simply must be eating this specific stew, and you absolutely need to be living in this specific zip code.
And the range is just wild. I mean, we are going to bounce from high fashion to real estate to cooking. But let's actually start with the face of the magazine, the visual identity.
That's the best place to start.
Because in the world of print, especially luxury print, if it doesn't look right, literally nobody reads the text.
Precisely. And the visual anchor for this entire issue is a feature called Bossing the Look.
Which I have to say is a pretty punchy title.
It is, yeah. It highlights the brand boss, specifically using a model named Katie. Now, normally I wouldn't stop to talk about the behind-the-scenes credits of a fashion shoot, but the source material here has a detail that is actually incredibly telling about how this whole operation works.
You're talking about Finn.
Yes, Finn is listed as the head of photography, but if you look closely at the production notes, he doesn't just take the picture, he captures and styles the in-house model photography.
Okay, so for those of you listening who maybe don't work in fashion publishing, why does that matter? Don't photographers usually have a say in what the model wears anyway?
Well, not quite like this. Usually on a massive luxury shoot, you have a photographer and you have a stylist, and they're very often in a bit of a power struggle.
Oh, really?
Oh, absolutely. The stylist wants to show off the clothes, the fabric, the drape, the specific accessories, but the photographer cares about the light, the mood, the shadow on the face. It's a constant negotiation.
So it's basically a tug of war between the clothing and the art.
Exactly. But here, Finn is doing both. He's the lens and the wardrobe department.
Wow.
Yeah. And this suggests a very singular, heavily controlled vision. It means the person behind the camera is also the person deciding exactly how the fabric falls.
That's a lot of control.
It is. It creates a visual consistency, a true VOUZ aesthetic that you just don't get when you have too many cooks in the kitchen. It tells us that this magazine isn't trying to be everything to everyone. It's presenting one specific, curated idea of elegance.
And that elegance seems to be built entirely on contrast, because I noticed they cover London Fashion Week, which I always associate with being, a bit gritty, a bit street style, maybe avant-garde.
Right.
But then, literally on the next beat, they are covering Paris Couture Week jewelry.
Which is the exact opposite of gritty.
Right. I mean, we are talking about diamonds, platinum, unique pieces that probably cost more than my entire house. Why put those two radically different things side by side?
Because that juxtaposition is the trend for 2026. The modern luxury consumer just doesn't want to be pigeonholed anymore.
They don't want to be put in a box.
Exactly. They don't want to just look like a traditional banker or just look like a bohemian artist.
Hmm.
They want the street cred and the raw edge of London fashion, but they also want the deep heritage status and the investment value of Parisian high jewelry.
Hmm.
The magazine is essentially giving them permission to be both.
It's the ultimate high-low mix. Or I guess in this specific case, it's a high-super high mix.
High, higher, perhaps.
High, higher. I like that. But speaking of mixing things that you wouldn't necessarily expect to go together, this is where the source material gets really fascinating for me. The
Ah,
collaborations.
yes, the strategic luxury partnerships.
Because some of these, I mean, they sound like they were drawn out of a hat, but I have a feeling you're going to tell me they are actually playing 4D chess.
Oh, they are incredibly calculated, every single one of them.
Let's start with the one that jumped out at me immediately. Johnny Walker and Robert One.
What stands out to you about that specific pairing?
Well, on one hand, you have Johnny Walker. Premium spirits, yes, but very traditional. It's heritage, it's Scottish, it makes you think of tweed and rainy moors.
Classic.
Right. And then on the other hand, you have Robert One. He's a haute couturier. He makes these wild, architectural, gravity-defying gowns that look like they belong in a modern art museum or, on Lady Gaga, and it just feels like a very odd couple.
It definitely does on the surface. But you have to look at the specific details of what they're making. They are collaborating on a limited edition design specifically for the Year of the Horse.
Okay, right. The Year of the Horse, spring 2026.
This tells us a huge amount about the target demographic here. First, it directly targets the global Asian luxury market. The Lunar New Year is a massive, massive gifting occasion. It's arguably bigger than Christmas for this specific retail sector.
That makes sense.
But secondly, think about what Robert One actually brings to a bottle of whiskey.
Design credibility.
More than that,
Yeah.
he elevates it from a beverage to a true art object. If you are Johnny Walker right now, you have a problem. How do you get a younger, fashion-forward, hyper-design conscious consumer to actually care about old-school scotch?
You stop selling it as a drink and you start selling it as a collectible.
Exactly. You make the bottle into something that doesn't belong hidden away in a liquor cabinet. It belongs out on a lit shelf in the living room right next to a sculpture. It completely bridges the gap between the wine cellar and the fashion closet. It signals that whiskey itself can be fashion.
So you're not even buying it to drink it, really. You're buying it to show people that you have it.
In many of these cases, yes.
Wow.
It becomes an integral part of the home decor.
Wow. Okay, that totally makes sense. Now, the second collaboration they highlighted felt a little more, I don't know, stereotypical to me. Breitling and Aston Martin.
The legendary watchmaker and the iconic car maker.
Yeah, it feels like the James Bond starter pack, doesn't it? Breitling has been announced as the official watch partner of Aston Martin.
It is a very classic pairing, I'll grant you that. But don't dismiss it as lazy marketing. Think about the underlying core values of those two specific industries.
Well, I guess they are both deeply about machines.
They are completely obsessed with mechanics, with micro-precision, with the engine. It's all about high-performance engineering. By officially partnering up like this, they are validating each other in a very specific, targeted way.
How so?
Well, Aston Martin is subtly telling its drivers, look, if you truly appreciate the fine engineering of our V12 engine, you are exactly the kind of person who has the taste to appreciate the movement inside this Breitling watch.
Oh, and Breitling is basically saying, hey, if you wear this watch, you have the daring spirit of an Aston Martin driver, even if you're currently just sitting in gridlock traffic.
Precisely. It's a flawless psychographic match.
Yeah.
It reinforces the brand values of both sides simultaneously. It's selling the ultimate fantasy of technical perfection.
So if you are reading VOUZ in spring 2026, the picture is really starting to form for you. You're wearing the Boss suit, styled by Finn. You've got the Breitling secured on your wrist. You're driving the Aston Martin, and you've got that Robert One Johnny Walker bottle waiting for you at home.
You are fully, completely geared up.
But you can't just exist in a vacuum of expensive objects. You have to actually go out and do things. And that brings us to the experience economy section of the magazine. Because they aren't just selling you stuff, they're selling you plans.
Correct. Luxury has shifted so significantly over the last decade from owning to experiencing. And the magazine directly reflects that shift with its heavy coverage of dining and culture.
And there are two very, very different vibes happening here. First, the big headline news. Gordon Ramsay is opening a brand new Hell's Kitchen restaurant in the Cumberland Hotel in London.
Which is a massive, highly anticipated opening.
Right. Now, Hell's Kitchen, that's a brand literally everyone knows. It's high energy. It's got that intense reality TV fame attached to it. It's loud.
It is spectacle dining at its finest.
Mm.
It's meant to be an event, not just a meal. And opening it in the Cumberland Hotel places it right in the beating heart of London, very near Marble Arch.
So it's accessible, but still very prestigious.
Exactly. And it perfectly aligns with the magazine's cultural coverage of new shows in London and on Broadway. They are curating your entire night out for you. They're saying, go see this specific new show and then go eat at this high-profile restaurant where everyone will see you.
But then, and this is the pivot that I absolutely loved when I read the outline, you flip the page and you are suddenly in a feature called The Barn Kitchen.
A complete 180-degree turn.
Literally, we go from Gordon Ramsay shouting in a massive commercial kitchen to a very quiet recipe for, of all things, coq au vin.
Classic, incredibly rustic French comfort food.
So help me out here. Why put a rustic chicken stew right next to an Aston Martin in Hell's Kitchen? Is it just editorial filler?
Oh, not at all. This is a very subtle, very deliberate signal about what true luxury actually is today.
Yeah.
Think about what is required to make a really good coq au vin.
Well, chicken, a
Yeah.
lot of wine.
Time. It takes time. You have to meticulously marinate it. You have to braise it very slowly for hours. You have to actually be at home to do it.
Oh, wow. I didn't think about that.
In a modern world, where everyone is constantly rushing, where everyone's default state is busy, having the sheer amount of free time to spend an entire afternoon cooking a rustic stew is actually the ultimate status symbol. It loudly says, I am not on the clock. I have a domestic sanctuary.
That is fascinating. So Hell's Kitchen is for when you want the rush, but the coq au vin is for when you want to prove to everyone that you don't need the rush.
Exactly. It implies a very deep level of sophistication. It's the classic town and country dynamic. You do the Cumberland Hotel on a Friday night to be seen, but on Sunday, you're secluded at the country house making coq au vin.
Which is actually the perfect segue to where you are supposedly cooking that chicken. Let's talk about the physical environment VOUZ is selling you, the real estate and interiors section.
This section of the issue is huge.
Yeah.
And starts with a major interior design feature focused on Hampton styling.
Which they specifically note as coastal.
Yes, and the Hamptons aesthetic is perennial in the luxury space. It completely represents relaxed affluence.
Lots of white linens, natural light, weathered wood.
Right. It's highly polished, but it's never stuffy. It fits that Sunday coq au vin vibe perfectly.
And they don't just show you the style and leave you to figure it out. They show you the ultimate literal implementation of it. The Ronde VOUZ property feature.
I definitely see what they did there with a punny name.
I know, it's clever. But look at this specific listing they highlight. 174 Dune Road, Quogue Beach.
The address alone just screams exclusivity.
It's listed at $15 million US.
A very significant investment, even for this demographic.
And the description is incredibly enticing. They call it a rare oceanfront offering with sweeping Atlantic views and easy access to everything the Hamptons has to offer.
But notice the highly specific location they chose to feature Quogue.
Is Quogue significant? I mean, it's all just the Hamptons, isn't it?
It is, but there is a very strict hierarchy within the Hamptons.
Mm.
Quogue is not the loud party scene of Montauk, and it's not the flashy new money wealth of Southampton. Quogue is often considered a bit quieter, a bit more old money. It's designed for people who want all the luxury, but absolutely none of the paparazzi.
So it's quiet luxury in real estate form.
Exactly. And look at the brilliant editorial flow here. They prime you with the Hampton styling article first, showing you the exact aesthetic, making you deeply want that breezy coastal vibe. And then, immediately on the next page, they present the literal solution. Here is the exact $15 million house where you can live that life.
It's a complete start-to-finish sales funnel. You don't have to go find a house and then figure out how to hire a decorator. VOUZ is basically saying, here's the dream and here's the exact price tag to acquire it.
And it connects right back to the food we just talked about. That beautiful kitchen in the Quogue house is exactly where you were supposed to be cooking that rustic coq au vin. It's a completely seamless narrative.
Speaking of narratives and really big celebrations, we absolutely have to talk about the wedding edit. Because when I saw this in the source outline, I thought, okay, sure, they'll have a page or two on weddings. But it's a massive 12-page spread.
12 pages is a staggering amount of real estate in a premium print magazine. That is a major editorial commitment.
And it covers literally everything. New trends, specific styles, the dresses, the fine jewelry, makeup, location scouting, the planning process. Why go so incredibly hard on weddings? Is the target demographic for this magazine all getting married in spring 2026?
Probably not all of them, no. But you have to think about what a wedding actually represents in the luxury sector. It is essentially the Super Bowl of consumption.
The Super Bowl.
Think about it. A high-end luxury wedding is the one single moment where high fashion, fine dining, global travel, real estate, automotive, and high jewelry all instantly collide in a single weekend. It is the ultimate showcase of the entire luxury lifestyle ecosystem.
That's a really good point. Even if you aren't the one personally getting married, you're highly likely to be attending one.
Exactly. And that is the key insight. In this specific social circle, attending weddings is where you publicly display your status. Knowing the current trends, knowing that this particular silhouette is the dress for 2026, or that this remote island is the destination everyone is flying private to, is a vital form of social currency.
So even if you are just attending as a guest, you still need to study these 12 pages so you don't show up looking completely out of touch.
You absolutely need to know the rules of engagement. If the secret trend for 2026 is micro-weddings in remote Italian villas, and you show up expecting a massive ballroom gala in New York, you've completely misread the room. By dedicating 12 full pages to it, VOUZ is signaling that they understand the event itself is central to the lifestyle. It's not just about the bride anymore. It's about the entire spectacle.
It's about cultural literacy. You have to deeply know the language of the modern wedding just to fit in.
Correct. And VOUZ is graciously providing you with a dictionary.
So let's step back for a second and look at this whole big picture we've painted. We have the Boss suit, the Robert I Couture whiskey, the Aston Martin, the Hell's Kitchen dinner, the Quogue beach house, and the mega wedding. It's a lot of moving parts. And it brings me right back to something we touched on at the very beginning of this deep dive. Who exactly is conducting this orchestra?
The editorial voice.
Right, because we mentioned Shane Finn on the photography side earlier, but the person at the very top of the masthead is Corinne Tuddenham-Finn. She's the editor-in-chief.
And her role appears to be incredibly hands-on for an editor-in-chief. The source notes explicitly say she designs and produces the magazine.
Which is a lot of hats to wear.
Yeah.
Usually an editor-in-chief sits in a corner office and just approves things that other people make, but designing and producing implies she is right down in the trenches building these pages herself.
It strongly suggests that VOUZ is a very personal project. It's not some committee-run corporate product where every decision is vetted by 3 different focus groups. It has a very specific, undeniable DNA. She also writes the editor's letter and the last word column.
The last word is the section where she picks up on broader trends and directly shares her own sense of style, right?
Yes, and that personal touch is actually crucial to the business model. When you are being told exactly how to spend $15 million on a beach house or what specific piece of couture to buy, you really don't want to listen to a faceless corporation. You want to deeply trust the taste of a real person.
Right, you want a guide.
Exactly. By having Corinne's voice literally bookend the magazine, starting with the editor's letter and ending with the last word, it creates a pseudo-relationship with the reader. You aren't listening to a brand, you're listening to Corinne.
And seeing Shane Finn, who is presumably a relative, given the shared last name handling the entire visual side, it feels almost like a family business, a very boutique operation catering to a massive global elite.
It creates a powerful sense of intimacy. It says, we know exactly what you like because we like it too. It's much less, here is what the advertisers paid for you to see, and much more, here is what we personally think is beautiful.
You know, it reminds me of those old school fashion editors of the 20th century, the ones who were basically absolute dictators of taste.
And I mean that in the best possible way.
Yeah.
In a modern world of algorithms constantly serving you content based just on what you clicked on yesterday, having a human editor with a fiercely strong point of view is the ultimate luxury.
Because it's surprising.
It's entirely unexpected. An algorithm is never, ever going to tell you to go cook a rustic coq au vin right after you just spent an hour looking at an Aston Martin V12 engine. A human editor will.
That is such a brilliant point. The algorithm just gives you more of the exact same thing. The editor actually gives you something new. So we've taken quite the tour through spring 2026 today, from bossing the look all the way to the Hamptons coast. If you're listening to this and trying to make sense of the luxury market, maybe you work in marketing, or maybe you're just fascinated by how this hyper-wealthy world operates, what is the big takeaway you should leave with?
The primary takeaway is that luxury in 2026 is entirely seamless. It's no longer compartmentalized into little boxes. The car brand talks directly to the watch brand. The high fashion designer talks directly to the traditional whiskey distiller. The magazine doesn't just show you a pretty dress. It shows you the exact $15 million house the dress lives in and the specific dinner being served in that dining room.
It's all about total consistency.
Consistency and ruthless curation. If you really want to understand this market, you cannot look at any of these products in isolation anymore. You have to look at the massive lifestyle ecosystem they build together. You have to pay attention to the partnerships.
You know, it's really funny. When I started reading the source material this morning, I honestly just saw a random list of fancy items. But now I kind of see the invisible web connecting them all. It's a very specific, meticulously built world that Corinne and her team have constructed.
And they're cordially inviting you to step inside.
Well, whether you are currently in the market for a $15 million home or you're just looking for a really solid chicken recipe for Sunday, VOUZ, definitely seems to have mapped out the spring of 2026 pretty clearly for us.
Indeed, they have.
And that brings us to the end of today's deep dive. We've explored the subtle art of curated luxury, from the shiny visuals on the page to the highly strategic business deals happening behind the scenes.
Just remember this for the future. Next time you see a wild collaboration like that Johnny Walker and Robert One bottle, ask yourself what they are actually selling. Is it just the whiskey? Is it the cool design? Or is it simply the permission to belong to a very specific, very exclusive club?
A club where the entry fee is incredibly high, but the coq au vin is supposedly delicious. Thanks so much for listening, everyone. We'll catch you on the next deep dive.
Until next time.